This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Enterprise Biz Bites. It is Wednesday, the 4th of November. My name is Audrey Raj, and in the studio with me is
Freda Liu.
On the show today, we're going to be talking about expats and foreign workers. How much does your business or your industry rely on expatriates or foreign workers? Get in touch with us, 018-789-8899. That's the number to reach us on WhatsApp. You can also reach us on Twitter and on Instagram at BFM Radio is our handle. Now, restrictions on the intake of foreign and expat workers have stepped up, with the government wanting vacancies and details such as pay to be advertised on its official portal first. Now, we covered this news the day it broke here on BFM. I think it was the evening edition that did a piece on this last Friday, but we thought we'd focus on the impact of this news on employers and business owners here in Malaysia.
All right, some background on this if you don't know already. So under the latest change, employers seeking foreign workers through the rehiring program and wanting to hire expatriates for higher paying jobs have to advertise over a fixed period of time on the National Employment Portal. That's My Future Jobs. Interview sessions are to be jointly attended by Human Resources Ministry agencies such as Social Security Organisation or SOCSO. And the move is to enable the government to be more aware of the unemployment situation in the country to give locals the priority.
Yes, so unemployment is the issue that we're trying to deal with. Besides the expat category, job intake in the construction, plantation and agriculture sectors will also come in for stricter vetting. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said that information such as job title, salary offered, academic qualifications and required skills and competencies must be displayed on the National Jobs Portal. He said this is because some employers had tried to exploit the situation by categorizing unqualified foreign workers as expats. He said, and I quote, "We want to ensure that they are really expatriates with a salary of at least 10,000 ringgit. Some employers pay them a salary of 3,005 or 4,000 ringgit and call them expats. We just want to make sure that employers are not taking advantage of this."
Right. So when the news broke, it was met with mixed reactions. Malaysian Employers Federation welcomed the move to prioritise employment of locals, saying it was a positive step to resolve the unemployment issue, especially among fresh graduates. SME Association of Malaysia, meanwhile, said advertising vacancies on the portal would add to the red tape that SME face in hiring such workers, with employers facing further delays. The Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers also chimed in. It recognised the need to prioritise jobs to locals, especially with the rise in the employment level. This cannot be a blanket requirement for all expatriate positions. FMM said some key positions in foreign-owned private companies and firms operating here could not be replaced with locals, adding that certain projects could require experts from the principal company to transfer expertise and knowledge to locals.
Yeah, so according to official statistics, the number of expatriates here increased by 12% last year to about 122,000 plus, with the majority of them coming from India, followed by China and Japan. The expats were mainly employed in the services sector, which is more than almost 53%, IT 31% plus, and manufacturing at about 6%.
Right. And if you're wondering what the advertising process is going to entail, Saravanan said advertisements on vacancies should not be less than 14 days for the rehiring program for foreign workers and 30 days for the application of expatriates.
Yeah, so this is going to prolong the whole hiring process for employers and business owners. Now, he also added that the ministry is prepared to review the need to advertise for high-paying expat positions because they fully recognize the need for foreign workers or expats for certain industries and key posts. But and he said, by no means they will reject such applications provided there is sufficient justification for such positions to be filled by non-citizens. He also said that there were many advantages in hiring Malaysians from the pool of experienced and competent local talents in the market. And of course, this is the main reason why this move was mooted. And the minister said the government was very concerned with the unemployment rate in the country, especially with about 300,000 fresh grads entering the employment market this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there were other interesting points to discuss when talking about this story right now. Earlier, Freda, you mentioned the SME Association of Malaysia. Now, their president, Dato' Michael Kang, said that the SME sector had reached out to the HR Ministry and Jobs Malaysia portal administrators to help match job seekers on the portal to existing vacancy. They had already done this already. And apparently, they suggested that they work with us by sharing the list of job seekers with our members to find suitable openings, but they said that they could not do this because it went against the PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Act 2010. And also, Datuk Michael Kang said that SMEs were willing to hire locals to fill mainly the 3D jobs, which is dangerous, dirty and difficult jobs, that is usually taken up by foreign labor. But a lot of employers found that locals did not have the right attitude about doing these jobs, and they quit not long after they started. So he said that he did not think that salary was among the reasons why locals shunned such work, adding that employers in the SME sector were actually willing to pay good salaries, monthly salaries between 2,000 and 3,000 ringgit for jobs like this.
Yeah, just like, I've had lots of conversations with business owners, and they said the locals don't want to do the work, right? I've heard that a lot, right? So other parties that questioned the move include the Centre for Market Education, CME, and the American Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, AmCham. They cautioned the new procedures may lead to reduced foreign direct investments and less interest from multinational corporations. They said it should not be seen as such. It's instead a positive move that has the potential to increase FDIs in the future.
Right. Now, this is not something that's new to our neighbours across the causeway. So earlier this year, while we were grappling with the MCO in March, Singapore's Ministry of Manpower, they announced new rules on the hiring of foreign employees, and these were enacted in May, if I'm not mistaken. Now, under these new rules, the government increased the minimum qualifying salary of up to 3,900 Sing dollars for new applicants to their employment pass. So these are for foreign workers, right? And job positions with a monthly salary of up to 20,000 Sing dollars had to be advertised on their national jobs portal, which is mycareersfuture.sg. The city-state hoped that these initiatives would encourage Singaporean businesses to hire more local, mid-career and senior Singaporeans in the post-pandemic economy.
Right. And the role of foreign workers became a key election issue for Singaporeans this year, with several opposition candidates campaigning on claims that overseas talent is taking local jobs.
Now, you're hearing a lot of this,
not just in Singapore, not
but
just in
all
Malaysia.
over, right? Yeah. So, what we want to know today is, how much does your business or your industry rely on expatriate or foreign workers? Get in touch with us. Chime in on the conversation. 018-789-8899 on WhatsApp. You can also tweet us at BFM Radio. Get in touch with us on Instagram at BFM Radio is our handle. We'll come back and look at our poll, and also we'll be speaking to someone about the positives and negatives of this move. But for now, here's James Gang with Funk number 49, BFM 89.9.
Bias-free media. BFM 89.9. The business station.
Welcome back. This is Enterprise Biz Bites with Freda Liu and Audrey Raj. On the show today, we are asking you, how much does your business or industry rely on expatriate or foreign workers? Get in touch with us via WhatsApp 018-789-8899. You can also reach us on Twitter and on Instagram at BFM Radio. Let's take a look at the poll, Freda.
All right. So at not at all, 36.6%, a little, 34.1%, a lot, that's a quarter, 25%, and entirely a small percentage of 4.3%.
Yeah, but there are, businesses and industries that completely rely on foreign workers. Now, just before the break, we mentioned that the Centre for Market Education, or CME, had given feedback to the announcement of this new process of having to vet expatriate or foreign workers before they are allowed to. Well, there's a whole new process that we are kind of mimicking what Singapore has done earlier this year, and they were fairly critical about this. They also had some suggested modifications to the new policy, which included, now this is according to the CME, open a discussion table with the relevant stakeholders, and in particular with the foreign chambers of commerce, before implementing such measures, rather than after they are in place, just to get feedback from them. Identify a salary threshold such as, say, 15,000 ringgit a month, above which the new procedure will not be applicable, and businesses will be free to hire without using the portal, but only with the traditional channels. They could also exclude work permit renewals from the scope of the policy. This will be a big one, I would imagine. And also exclude business owners from the scope of the policy.
Right. So on the line with us to talk through some of these suggestions and to answer a few more questions, we have Dr. Carmelo Ferlito, the CEO of CME and a senior fellow at Ideas. Dr. Carmelo, now there are many Malaysians who believe that locals should come first when it comes to the hiring process, and against the rising unemployment numbers. Is the government doing anything wrong by protecting local jobs?
Hi, and thank you for having me to BFM. I'm glad to answer these questions, and in fact, I recently took position on the matter. Actually, I think that there is nothing wrong in the government wanting to protect the local jobs. But my question is, with the current new expatriate hiring process, is the government protecting local jobs or risking to lose more local jobs? Because if the effect of such a policy will be to move multinational companies away from Malaysia, then we are doing nothing good for protecting local jobs.
Right. Okay.
right.
So now there are a large number of expatriates employed in the services sector, and often within that sector, turnover is high. So how will this new policy affect business owners and employers in their hiring process?
Well, rather than talking about high numbers of expatriates in the service sector, I think that would be more appropriate to discuss the percentage of expatriates over the total amount of employees within international companies.
Right.
And I think that over the past decades, the numbers have constantly moved down. So multinational companies are hiring less expatriates and more local workers for several reasons that are not only related to salaries and packages, but also, of course, for the rising availability on the local market of good talents and culture, language, and so on. The new hiring process is first and foremost, I think, going to affect badly those expatriates that are presently living in the country. Because what the new policy suggests is that even for the renewal of work permit, you should open the recruitment to local workers.
Right.
This is a problem because you have maybe an employee, foreign employee that has been here for 2, 3, 4 years, and all of a sudden you are asked, if possible, to replace that person with a Malaysian. And we have people that have given the contribution to the local economy, not only with their work, but also with their expenditures, settling down here with their families, sending the kids to school, that might find themselves unemployed and without a visa and forced to leave the country.
Right.
Obviously, this is affecting the decision of future expatriates or multinational companies to settle down in Malaysia. It adds uncertainty to a climate that is already uncertain. And this new policy applies also to business owners that need to hire themselves in order to get a proper visa to do their job in Malaysia. And they might find themselves in the funny position to hire someone else to run their own business. So these are the first concerns. And lastly comes the concern of hiring new expatriates, which I don't agree on the process, but I understand the ratio. But I think the most pressing solution is that this policy should not apply to those workers, to those foreign workers and expatriates that are already legally working in the Malaysian territory.
In the country.
Yeah, very interesting, Dr. Ferlito, right? What he said, what you said was like, it's not just the person's job, it's like the family. There's, they spend money here and that sort of thing. Now, Dr. Ferlito, let's talk about being there being a SOXO representative, having to be part of the interview process, right? What are the implications of this move?
Actually, the part regarding the SOXO representative in interview has been removed, and in the HR Ministry FAQ that was released a few days ago, that part was clearly mentioned as not applicable. This is the only concession that the Ministry has given to the requests of the different chambers of commerce.
All right. So we have to ask Dr. Carmelo, like recently Singapore also revised its rules on the hiring of foreign workers. And what do you think about its model? And would this work here in Malaysia?
we have seen everywhere in the region the growing tendency of local first or protecting local products and so on. And Singapore is not alien to this phenomenon. I think that the only country that is playing smartly to attract FDIs in this moment is Indonesia. Malaysia could actually try to benefit from the fact that Singapore is becoming more strict, and therefore some multinational companies might think to relocate to Malaysia, bringing job opportunities to Malaysia, rather than following the example of Singapore. So we should not play the game of imitating Singapore, but competing with Singapore to attract multinational companies, which create also job opportunities for the locals.
Professor, the other thing is, should expatriates who are currently employed in Malaysia be worried about not getting their work permit renewed? What are the options that would be available to them, especially if they've been living and working in Malaysia for some time now, like you mentioned earlier?
Yes, absolutely. Expatriates that are currently working in Malaysia should be worried. The policy is very clear. Nobody is safe at this moment. The only thing that employers can do is to apply for an exception, to ask the ministry to consider that a certain job was purposely created for a certain person that has been living in Malaysia for quite some time. But at this point, your renewal is completely left at the discretion of the political authority, and this again doesn't add certainty to a climate of already high uncertainty in the country, which is not favorable to new investment.
So overall, how much of an impact could this have to the Malaysian economy? Just how much do we rely on expatriate workers?
I think the issue here is not simply how much do we rely on expatriate workers, but how much the presence of expatriate workers as representative of multinational companies here create opportunity for local workers. That is the real things that, according to me, really matters. If we have, let's say, just to make an example, in multinational companies a ratio of one expatriated 10 local workers, then you realize that the leaving of a multinational company from the country can have a very deep impact on the national economy. We are in a moment of economic difficulties, and we should do whatever we can to create opportunities, not to have opportunities to flee from this country. So Malaysia needs really to change its pace in playing the game of international competitiveness, while Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam can become much more attractive destinations, in particular for those FDIs that are leaving China amid the trade war. So let's rethink the global strategy on competitiveness, because this is what is at stake at this moment.
Right, definitely food for thought. Thank you so much, Professor. That was Dr. Carmelo Ferlito, CEO of Center for Market Education and Senior Fellow at Ideas. Now, I'm just thinking about some of our friends who are not Malaysian but are really like super Malaysian at heart, right? And how this will affect the way they live, and when they have to apply for a renewal of their permit and the repercussions from this move.
So just like what the earlier point, right? The expat usually comes with the family. They go to schools, they go to, they spend, so it's not just that, the repercussions, it's not just like one individual or whatever, right? But I think we just need more clarity of where we want to go with this. And, like Singapore's done it real well. And she's very interesting how he's saying that Indonesia is getting it right. So,
right. All right.
Maybe you should look at them.
Yeah. On the show today, we are asking you, how much does your business or your industry rely on expatriate or foreign workers? Get in touch with us via WhatsApp 018-789-8899. You can also reach us on Twitter and on Instagram at BFM Radio is our handle. We'll come back with another story or another issue that is facing the workforce today, and that is automation. But for now, here's Blondie with Atomic, BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.